I'll introduce our next speaker, Dr. James Allen, founder of SWAAN and professor at Northern Arizona University, and RPCV is our next speaker. So, Jim?
Chris? I'll just say co-founder of SWAAN because there were several others involved in creating this, like Mick and Andy and others. And so there's a lot of credit to go around, in my opinion, in terms of who is responsible for creation and maintenance of this organization, which to me is a really exciting one to be part of. I'm going to give Chris a second. Good. Well, you know I'm long-winded, so I'll get us back on time. No, I'm not exactly a long-winded person. But it was nice, Ralph, to hear you mention partnerships and the importance of partnerships, because what I'm going to tell you about is an example of what I consider to be an exciting partnership involving pretty good number of parties that I'll get to in a second. And this partnership involves this project that goes by this title you see up there, Southwestern Tribal Agroforestry Outreach Project. And I'm listed in the program as the presenter, but I want to acknowledge two other people that have presented on this very topic at this very meeting last year and the year before. What this is kind of an update as we're beginning to wrap this project up. So I want to recognize Leah Potter-Waite, who's with the Quivira Coalition, and James Calabaza, who's with Trees, Water, and People, a small nonprofit based up in Colorado. And this really is a partnership involving a pretty good number of entities. First of all, I want to recognize the USDA National Agroforestry Center because they are the source of funding for this project. I think it ultimately is Forest Service money routed through NAC. And this project is one of several they funded as part of an overall effort to increase outreach and adoption of agroforestry. So they weren't funding research, they were funding projects aimed at outreach and increased outreach on agroforestry. So the money came to Quivira Coalition. They're the ones who put this project proposal together. They're at the heart of this project. That's why they're in the center of this big long list of collaborators. So in addition to Quivira Coalition, SWAAN was involved. It was exciting for us to be involved in it. Trees, Water, and People. There were some individual contractors like Tristan Chi, who produced the videos that I'll mention. The School of Forestry at NEU. And then there were three case studies that we really were at the heart of this project. And one of those involved the Santa Ana Pueblo's tree and native plant nursery, which is really supporting agroforestry in that region. The Flowering Tree Permaculture Institute is another one. And the TEWA women's group in near Espanola is also a partner. So what were the goals of this project? Pretty simple goals. We wanted to promote and revitalize traditional agroforestry practices utilized by tribes in this region, the Southwestern region. We really wanted to highlight projects that uplift the cultural relevance of tribal agroforestry. So this is an outreach project. It's about getting information out, about highlighting work that's already being done. So here's what we were trying to do. We were trying to deliver on these products here, including case study videos on these three entities I mentioned, the Santa Ana Pueblo's Nursery, the Flowering Tree Permaculture Institute, and the TEWA Women United program and their food forest project. So we've completed two of those videos. The third one will be completed pretty soon. Another really important part of this was to do a literature review and synthesis on what has been published and what's known already about tribal agroforestry in this region. And then there's a number of sort of miscellaneous projects or products, including one that we helped deliver as the SWAAN organization, which was a webinar. There are recorded presentations. There's a podcast. I'll tell you how you can access those if you're interested a little bit later in this presentation. So our primary audience, as you might guess from the title of the project, is indigenous groups, tribal entities of one kind or another, actual tribal governments, tribal individuals, some organizations that operate within reservations. Those are the primary audience. But a lot of the work that's being done is relevant much more broadly. And so we're trying to get the word out about some of these practices to other audiences other than just tribal audiences. So the first case study that we highlighted was Santa Ana Pueblo Tree and Native Plant Nursery. This is only indirectly agroforestry. They're not doing agroforestry at the nursery, but they are producing a lot of plants that are really valuable agroforestry species and that are culturally important species as well. So they do produce a lot of food producing plants there, a lot of medicinal plants, plants that have other cultural importance. It's a really impressive operation. They serve their own pueblo. They serve other entities in that area, tribal entities. They also do a lot of contract work for like the Forest Service. They're doing, providing plant material for reforestation after burns and things like that. It's a pretty diversified operation that supports agroforestry indirectly by providing the plants that are used for things like riparian buffers, forest farming, food forests, as well as more general ecological restoration. You see pictures of their indoor and outdoor parts of their operation. This is a commercial scale, large, very productive nursery. And one of the videos we have completed is on this operation, and it features the head of the nursery as well as some of the staff. And I caught this off the video. This is a screenshot off the video that I really liked because it's highlighting a person from that pueblo talking about once these plants are out and planted, he might see his own family or other people he knows harvesting the products from those. And to me, that's agroforestry in a way. And it was just really nice to see him talking about the nursery operation in that context. Yet another video that has been completed now and has been posted on the website just this week, actually, is one on the Flowering Tree Permaculture Institute. And this is a really fascinating place over in the Santa Clara Pueblo. And this features Roxanne Swensel. I don't know how many of you recognize that name. She's a pretty prominent person, both in permaculture and in things like increasing the nutrition that people on tribal lands are able to access and use. She's really a dynamo. She's also an artist, a great sculptor and designer, fascinating person. She has developed a very small but very nice little food forest on her own property and runs workshops and things like that out of that. She features food forests. And I would say her property is a windbreak too. It's not a linear windbreak like you showed, Chris. But her property is in a pretty open area. And now that it's covered with trees, it really shelters her house during the winter, shades it during the summer. And so it has some properties of a windbreak as well. It's a beautiful property, and it started from pretty barren area and now has trees, 40 feet tall. It has an overstory of woody species like black locust, as well as a lot of fruit trees and traditional native trees or plants underneath it. She also has animals, she has bees. It's a really diversified little operation. What you see here are some screenshots from the video that has been posted now. In the upper left, she's talking about what that property was like before she started planting. It was bare, compact, hardly a plant on it. 30 years later, an aerial image of it is down in the lower left. Beautiful little food forest that she's developed with her house sitting right in the middle of it. In the upper right, she's talking about the fruit trees and also the bees, and other shots show the animals besides the bees that she has. And then I really like this quote that I captured as a screenshot where she was talking about agroforestry and acknowledging that she really didn't think of what she was doing as agroforestry. And we hear that a lot, that people do things that, oh, I didn't realize what I was doing was called agroforestry, or that's one name for it. In her case, she was saying, this is just something we did that I felt was right for the land, but she's come to recognize it as both permaculture and agroforestry, the work she's doing. The third case study involves this group, this site called the Espanola Healing Foods Oasis, and this is developed by the TEWA Women United group. And one of the things that they're really interested in is women and gender advocacy, doing what they can to promote women's health and development opportunities, things like that. And one such manifestation of that is this Healing Foods Oasis. It's about 1.5 acres in the town of Espanola on land that was just abandoned. They asked if they could use it. The town said, yeah, go for it. And they've developed a pretty nice little food forest there on that site. And so it is an agroforestry project, but really more fundamentally, it's an environmental justice project, a healing project, a cultural revitalization project. And these things all go together well, in my opinion, with agroforestry. That video is in the final stages of completion. It's not yet up on the website, but on the website that I'll tell you about in a second, there is a posted webinar that Kaylee Warren, one of the TEWA employees, presented as part of our SWAAN quarterly webinar series. And so that's available. It can tell you a lot about this project. She did a really nice job of highlighting this project, in my opinion. Couple screenshots from it below, one just introducing what TEWA Women United is all about, and then she showed you pictures of the design and then the actual work that's happened on the ground there. Some other products that are now finalized and on the website. We do have the literature synthesis on the website. It's called A Peek at Indigenous Agroforestry in the Southwest. It was written by Alicia Thompson, who is a Navajo woman who lives now over on a Pueblo in New Mexico. She did a really nice job, in my opinion, of reviewing what literature exists to date more broadly than those 3 case studies. So that's available. You can download that. Leah did an article that's a really nice article on this project that's also downloadable. And there's a podcast that features Roxanne Swensel and the Flowering Tree that's also available. So we're starting to get these products out in ways that are more accessible to the public. What have we learned from this project so far, this partnership? One is that we've really tried to look at traditional ecological knowledge and how that intersects with agroforestry. And clearly there is a strong intersection between TEK and agroforestry. TEK has broader types of goals, and not everything qualifies as agroforestry, and I would say vice versa for sure. But there is a lot of overlap that we need to highlight and celebrate, really. Where you start to see the differences is in that second bullet there. There's some things that are overlapping, like we both deal with sustenance, food production. There may be economic value in both. But with TEK type approaches to agroforestry, you have ceremonial uses, you have community healing, you have culturally important products that are not foods or even medicines in some cases, things that we don't necessarily think of as in the agroforestry world, and not quite so much anyway. And then one thing that was already mentioned is the data sovereignty issue and the need to be very sensitive to information that might be collected that tribes want to keep either private or at least control over how it gets out there. And so we had some challenges getting permission to get these videos on the web and some of the other products, finished because of that data sovereignty and that need to respect tribal processes. So our project took a while to really get to this final stage. It's really exciting to see it get to that stage now. And just to wrap up here, what you're looking at are some of the team members, not all of them, but a good number of the team members. This is from a visit they did to the Flowering Tree Permaculture Institute. So you see on the far upper left, that's Roxanne Swensel. Right next to her is Leah Potter-Waite, who was really the core person who held this all together, did the project proposal. In the front there is Treston Chi, who did the videos, great videographer. Next to Leah is Alicia Thompson, who did the literature synthesis. Second from the right is James Calabaza from Trees and Water and People. It was mostly an indigenous team, other than myself and Leah, and actually some of the SWAAN members participated in a lot of the meetings associated with this project as well. It's a really great example of us as SWAN partnering with people with similar interests, trying to help them, trying to promote agroforestry more generally. I definitely encourage you to get on that website that's listed there. And if you actually, use that QR code, it'll take you to that website. And a lot of products that I just mentioned are available freely on that website, including some others that I didn't mention. So for this project to really have value, people need to see those products. They need to use them. They need to spread them around. That's what it's about. It's about producing information that can be used for outreach and for inspiring agroforestry adoption, not only on tribal lands, but really throughout the Southwest. So anyway, thank you for your attention. I don't know if you didn't look like you were too restless, so I hopefully didn't go over time.
Jim, thank you for sharing that with us. We had Victoria Atencio invited to give this presentation, and she ended up with some health issues and was unable to come. And so Jim and I kind of pulled this together in the slides, and all of his just being closely connected with the project as it went along, he was able to really fill in, and we hope Victoria feels better, gets better, and wish she could have been here with us. She would have been coming down from Pueblo of Nambi up in New Mexico. So it's really fun to be able to make that connection across all our four corner states and have people participate in this together. I'm going to invite up my next presenter and ask Moses, are you all comfortable with all the Zoom stuff? Share that and get out of this. And okay. And so Moses Thompson